Welcome back to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, a real mensch who spent all of yesterday picking up my golf balls because I could barely move. My brother Mike.
Yeah, you were just a sad man
It was
yesterday.
rough. It was
Mark
rough.
really hurt his back on hole like 2 or 3. We played 18. And
Yeah.
so I drove the cart. So I was both his chauffeur and his nurse for most of the day.
And my
Uh,
caddy and my everything. Everything. It was rough.
Unsurprisingly, we lost because,
Yes. Although it was way closer than it should have been. Yeah, I had a back nine. I was pretty useless at that point. But luckily it's feeling a little bit better today. So I'm gutting out this game. This will be my flu game. This episode. So you're welcome. I'm playing hurt here. But we will still talk about a lot of Royals baseball. We'll still have a lot of fun talking about it. On this week's episode, we're going to review a winning road trip for the Royals. So we have winning baseball to talk about. That's nice. We're going to do our final MLB draft preview. I'm excited for the draft coming up in a week. It's always a lot of fun. And then we're going to preview this week's games, as we always do. We do want to let you know that we will be doing our third annual MLB Draft episode, a live episode that we host during the MLB Draft. This will be the third. Is Mike the third time? I think it's the third time.
I think this is the third year in a row. Well,
third year we've done one exclusively for us, and then maybe fourth year we were on the KCSN broadcast for it our first year, I think. But yes, that's going to start at 5 p.m. Central Time. That's when the draft starts. It's going to take a little while to get to pick 23 when the Royals pick, but we're going to hang out and talk about the picks. We're going to talk about Royals baseball generally. And then when the Royals pick at 23 and 28, we'll be there for that. And then we're going to take a little break and we'll come back for pick 61 and 71. We'll take another little break and we'll come back briefly for pick 97 because the Royals have 5 picks on the first day. It's wild to think about, but 5 picks in the first 3 rounds. 5 o'clock Central Time next Sunday, July 13th, I believe is the date. Make sure you're tuned into the Royals Weekly YouTube page. That's where we go live. Royals Weekly YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to that. Make sure you're tuning in for that. We're going to have a lot of fun. We will also be joined by Alex Duvall. He's supposed to join us as he does for the last couple of years as well. So hopefully we can have a nice little fun time talking about the draft. This is also your reminder to subscribe to the Royals Weekly Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. We'll be putting out some content about the draft and things like that through there as well. Make sure you're subscribed to that. You get an extra episode, 2 extra episodes every single week of Royals Weekly. You get an extra written post every week. And then sometimes I just publish some written posts on there for fun, like different analysis and those sorts of things. So make sure you're subscribed to the Royals Weekly Substack. $5 a month gets you so much extra content. Really, really great, really, really cheap. royalsweekly.substack.com. Also, make sure you're rating and reviewing us on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else you can. It's really, really important. We love reading those reviews here on the episode. I forgot to check to see if we have any new reviews, so I'm going to do that really quickly to make sure we're not leaving anybody out. We do read these Apple Podcast reviews. If you make one, anybody submit one this week? No. And so go out and be the person who helps us by reviewing us on Apple Podcasts, giving us a thumbs up, giving us 5 stars, all the different ratings you can give us. It really, really helps out. We'll start the review of last week with roster news. There's not a ton of it, but there are a couple small things to dig into. The Royals went ahead and optioned Drew Waters to AAA and recalled Luke Maile. This was like coverage for a small injury that Salvador Perez was having, so they want to make sure they have an extra catcher just in case. Salvy's been playing through it, but he's been DHing in first base most of the time. So Drew Waters is now in AAA with the Omaha Storm Chasers, and Luke Maile is up with the Major League team. Mike, what are your thoughts on losing Drew Waters and getting Luke Maile back up to Major League Baseball?
Well, I know Waters provides some kind of flexibility in the outfield, a little bit of base running ability, but he hasn't given us anything offensively to really keep him in Major League Baseball anytime recently. In the last month, he's 6 for 47 with 0 extra base hits. He's got a 128 batting average in the last month. And I think I saw Lesky put something out there that, like, basically in his last 80 plate appearances, he has 0 extra base hits. Every hit that he does have is a single. And so he wasn't giving you much offensively. I'm not sure Luke Maile doesn't provide more offensively, but definitely less defensive versatility, obviously, because Maile just catches. So, but yeah, I'm fine with it. Salvador Perez, if he needs days off, Maile's a good option back there. He's a solid veteran behind the plate. So I have no problem with it whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where we see the numbers, and it looks like Salvi's offensive numbers look a little better when he's DHing and when he's not doesn't have so much defensive responsibility. So it wouldn't shock me if the Royals carry kind of 3 catchers throughout the most of the rest of the season or the rest of the season as a way of keeping Salvador Perez productive, getting Freddie Fermin's defense behind the plate. Luke Maile has been productive in Major League Baseball, has been productive in AAA this year. So honestly, he's probably earned this Major League playing time, and they may be a better version of the team without Drew Waters and with Luke Maile. The Royals are looking for whatever they can get offensively. Luke Maile has been a little bit productive in AAA. It might be wiser to sort of just have him as part of a rotation in Major League Baseball. It complicates things a little bit at first base and DH because if Salvi's going to DH more or play first base more, you have other complicating things going on. But looks like they're really going to lean hard into the notion of Jack Caglione playing right field and Salvi spending quite a bit of time at first base or DH. And that's fine. I think that's fine. I mean, he's 35 years old. He can't catch forever. That's all catchers make this transition at some point. It was going to happen for Salvador Perez at some point. It's probably now. And honestly, if he can still be offensively productive playing DH, it's much better for his Hall of Fame case. It's much better for his legacy to be a productive first base DH at the end of his career here than a not so productive catcher.
Yeah, nobody's questioning Salvador Perez's catching bona fides at this point. Like we know what you can do and have done behind the plate. So
the Royals also placed Daniel Lynch on the 15-day injured list with some nerve issues in his in his elbow?
Yeah, in the elbow.
Yeah, which is always scary to hear. We'll see how that ends up turning out medically. They recalled Jonathan Bolin to Major League Baseball to replace Lynch. Mike, what are your thoughts on swapping Lynch to the IL, Bolin up to the major leagues?
Well, I like Jonathan Bolin. I liked what I was seeing from him. I think he maybe struggled a little bit when they first brought him up this year in the bullpen, but I liked where he was when he got sent down this last time. I was a little bit unhappy with him being sent down. So good to see him back up. The nerve thing for Lynch is both scary and not scary for me. Mostly like when you see these nerve things, it's like either they go away with just rest. So it's a pretty easy fix, or it's something much, much worse. And so it's like, it's really the two ends of the spectrum here. Like he may be, on the IL for the 15-day IL, and he may be, completely fine after that, never have another issue. Or it could be that the nerve is having a problem because of a bigger issue elsewhere. And that could be big. That's worrisome. So it's kind of one end of the spectrum. It could be extremely scary, or it could just be needs rest.
Yeah, and the thing that I think about when I think about Lynch,
he has pitched quite a bit.
He has pitched quite a bit, and that's valuable to a team. And when I was thinking about Daniel Lynch as a player, I think about him mostly in terms of as a trade chip, because I want I think this is the highest his value will ever be is right now, and so I want them to move him because of that. He's not essential, honestly, to the Royals. They have guys who could probably replace him. When Reagans comes back to the rotation, there's a decent chance that somebody like Lorenzen or Noah Cameron could move to the bullpen to essentially fill Lynch's role. And so I want them to move Lynch. I want them to get something for him. And of course, this just complicates that to no end. Like, even if this ends up being nothing, he spends the next couple of weeks on the IL. Well, then you're looking at like maybe a week left to trade him, and he may not even be back in Major League Baseball by then. It complicates so many things in terms of trying to move Daniel Lynch. This is probably the worst timing that you could have imagined for that. So decent chance they probably just have to hang on to him, and he pitches the rest of the season for them. But yeah, it's fine to see Bolin back. He has been semi-productive for them with the bullpen, but you wish the best for Lynch, and hopefully it's all good news on that nerve damage or nerve issue.
Irritation is, I think, how they categorize it.
On the field last week, the Royals won a very respectable 4-3, splitting a 4-game series in Seattle and then taking 2 of 3 from a good Diamondbacks team. Mike, more success on the road this week. How do you feel about how they played on the field?
I was actually a little bit surprised, and that's mostly because, and I mentioned this in the Mike's Drop episode this week, I didn't think they matched up really well with Arizona. I actually thought they matched up a little bit better with Seattle, who has a really good pitching staff. But one of the interesting things was both of those series in the final game, the team we were playing, first Seattle, then Arizona, pushed their starting pitcher and basically started a reliever. I thought those were interesting choices by those teams. Maybe they work out. I think Seattle ended up getting a really good start from Brian Wu the next day when he didn't start against the Royals. We'll see what Arizona gets today out of whoever the heck they're pitching. But it was good to see. I mean, it's good to see them win games. It's good to see them play pretty well against two teams that are solid baseball teams. Arizona is such a lopsided team. It made you kind of wonder, like, well, if they have a game where their bats don't go off, the Royals have a really good chance to win that game because their pitching staff is so bad. But yeah, it was good to see them play some solid baseball at times. The game that they lost in Arizona was almost exclusively on the back of, I mean, they didn't score any runs, but that's pretty common. But early in that game, Waka was walking people. He hit a guy. I think he had 3 walks and a hit by pitch. All of them came around to score in 4 innings. And so it's like, kind of some self-inflicted wounds in that one loss too. So it was good to see him, go off in that first game of the Arizona series. But I don't think it changes a lot for me in thinking of what this team is.
Yeah, no 1 week is probably going to do that. I'd need to see them string 3 or 4 weeks together for me to say, like, oh, this team looks different in some way. But it was nice to see the Royals hit some balls out in Arizona, at least. That was nice. It was nice to see Vinny Pasquantino and Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez hit one yesterday. Just getting a little bit hot in the heart of the order matters for streaks of time. I mean, if they're ever hoping to get back, all I ever want is the Royals to win. And so I'm hoping that they get back in the playoff race. And if they're going to do that, they got to start stringing wins together, like significantly. And so maybe it starts with winning a series in Arizona. Maybe they got that good split against a good Seattle team. If it can start there, if they can start finding that power stroke, that gives them a better chance to start stringing wins together with the good pitching that they have. We've seen them get hot. Some of their hitters get hot in the second half before. Bobby Witt Jr. is a notoriously better second half hitter than he is a first half hitter. So hopefully this sort of gives us some signals that the offense might be able to be a little more consistent in the second half than it was in the first half. Mike, there were some strong performers to choose from because it was a decent week. Hitters, pitchers, quite a few all around. Who was your strong performer from last week?
I decided to go with Vinny Pasquantino because I think he's a huge piece to what they can do offensively. He might be, outside of Bobby Witt Jr., the most important hitter in their lineup. 8 for 28, 3 doubles, 2 home runs, 8 RBI, 2 walks, and 7 strikeouts. If you look at the batting average, it's solid, but the big thing is the slugging percentage this week was really good. And that's going to be huge for him. Those extra base hits, 5 of his 8 hits were extra base hits. And that's what this team needs from him. They need him hitting doubles. They need him hitting the ball out. He's up to a 110 weighted runs created plus. And I think you and I said it's because he is a first base DH only guy. He gives you no base running value. He plays a solid first base, but it's not spectacular or anything.
It's good, but it's first base, and first base is the least important position, isn't valuable, except for DH.
So I think you and I said he needs to be at about a 115 weighted runs created plus for this team to be, for him to be an extremely valuable member of this team. And with the bad start that he had, this is kind of good news moving forward. He's now pulling the ball, he's lifting it a little bit better, and he's getting some good outcomes as a result. And so, you wonder, though, if this continues to be like a thing where, like, hey, I'm just not going to hit the first month or 2 of the season. Is there a way to work around that or change that or get that,
I think part of that this year
to fix that.
Yeah, I think part of that this year was his adjusting to the increased bat speed that he has. Like he works in the offseason to increase his bat speed in large part because that will give him better power numbers. He knows that his greatest weakness, this sounds weird because he's a big dude and a first baseman and he is strong, but his biggest weakness as a player probably is his lack of raw power. Like he doesn't have the raw power you typically associate with a big slugging first baseman, and he wants it, and he knows it would be really valuable for him. So he works to train bat speed in the offseason, which is smart, but if you do that, it can throw your timing off when it comes to facing actual live pitching, which is why you saw him pulling a bunch of balls foul to his pull side, because he's very wisely thinking, I need to pull the ball in the air. Vinny is the type of hitter every hitter should aspire to be in terms of, I work on my game to get better in specific ways that are actually going to help me. Like he knows that pulling the ball in the air is going to help him. So what is he trained to do? Pull the ball in the air. What is he trained to do? Hit the ball harder. Like those things will help him no matter what. And so, but the problem is
and they're essential for him. He's not a Major League Baseball player if he can't do them.
Jack can hit home runs to the opposite field. Vinny, he can't do that. And so he's got to pull the ball in the air. He's got to do this. He's got to do that. And so that's great, but that can throw your timing off in the first month or so as you're adjusting to seeing live pitching again. And so, yeah, that was kind of his issue this year, I think. For my strong performer, I'm going with a pitcher. I'm going with Michael Lorenzen, who put up just an absolute gem yesterday. I went back and watched the game when we got home, Mike. I don't know if you did, but
I did.
He went 7 shutout yesterday. For the week, he went 11 2/3 innings pitched with 3 earned runs, 1 home run, 1 walk, 12 strikeouts. This is mostly for that 7 shutout performance yesterday in the rubber match against the Diamondbacks. Huge performance. Going into that game, I'm like, oh man, they got Lorenzen pitching the rubber match. I would really want this to be Seth Lugo or something, right now. But Lorenzen just went out and dominated. His changeup looked phenomenal. He was throwing some incredible either changeups, some of them were sinkers, to left-handers that were just diving right out of the strike zone and getting tons of swing and miss on that. Had one of his best outings of the seasons yesterday, and they needed it. Yeah, they scored 4 runs, and that was great to see, but just the 4. They needed somebody to go out and have a really good pitching performance against a very good offense for the Arizona Diamondbacks, who really didn't break out at all during this series, I felt like. But, man, at any given time in a hitting environment like Arizona, you really got to be on your game as a pitcher. And Lorenzen went out and gave them the performance that they needed desperately to win that series.
Yeah, and just to kind of let you know how good is this, I think they've got 3 guys going to the All-Star game in that lineup. They all played: Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, and Eugenio Suarez. And those are they're sluggers, and it's a deep lineup too. And so, yeah, I was very surprised. Other than Saturday's game, I mean, I think they scored 7 on Saturday, and that was kind of like a few here, a few here, a few here throughout the game. I thought the Royals pitching staff did just an excellent job keeping this lineup down.
Yeah, not everybody was crushing it this last week, though. Mike, who was your week performer for last week?
Well, we got to talk about Nick Lofton, your boy Nick Lofton here.
I will take that. He is my boy, and I'm sticking with my boy, Nick Lofton.
And don't get me wrong, I was all in favor of Nick Lofton coming up and showing what he can do in Major League Baseball, getting another opportunity. We've always questioned, is he going to hit the ball hard enough? It looked like this year he had a different approach that was going to make him more of an on-base kind of guy, and then try and find gaps like to get your extra base hits, maybe get lucky and hit 5 to 10 home runs. It's just not happening. It looks like he just dropped the approach on I-29, and when he passed St. Joe, he just dropped his approach off there and came down to Kauffman Stadium with nothing. 2 for 15 this week, 1 double, 1 RBI, 0 walks, and 1 strikeout. I don't know why the approach doesn't look quite as good here in Major League Baseball. Maybe it's because the pitching is that much better, but we got to figure out he's got to figure out a way to be more productive. I actually thought he looked pretty good at third the other day. But he's got to do something offensively, because we can't carry a guy who's a marginal defensive infielder and no offense.
Yeah, I agree, but his expected numbers are better than his actual numbers, which is good. His big issue, in terms of the approach, I agree a little bit. Like, I'm like, why are you chasing this much in Major League Baseball and stuff like that? He still has a better approach than most of the Royals, but pitchers aren't scared of him in any way, and so they're just like filling up the strike zone with stuff right now, and he's not connecting. It's smart. Yeah. It is smart against him. That's what they should be doing. His big flaw in his game right now, go look at his bat speed numbers. They're very bad. He's got a slow bat, and that's not helping him connect with the ball in a very forceful way. And so talk about somebody who needs to train bat speed in the offseason. We mentioned Vinny Pasquantino. Nick Lofton needs to get in with Vinny Pasquantino's guys at Driveline and just train bat speed all offseason. All offseason train bat speed, because the approach is still good, really good enough to be a contributor at the major league level, especially because his defense at third, second, and in the corner outfields has been really good, like above average. He's actually a positive value in the defensive category, and he's obviously a good base runner and things like that. And the approach will work in Major League Baseball, but he's got to prove to pitchers that if they throw him a pitch in the strike zone, he can hit it hard into a gap somewhere, or he can hit it hard off of the pitcher like he did last night. Like something like that, where he's actually increasing his hard hit rates and proving that he's going to be a little bit of a problem if they try and live in the strike zone.
Do you know how hard that hit was that he hit DeScalfini with?
It was only going 91, but
91.
Yeah, that's not hard enough. He's got to start hitting the ball a little harder. I still like the approach. I still think that if given time and to like settle into a role, that approach will get back to what it was in AAA. But he's got to find some success. He's got to gain some confidence, and he's got to keep playing. They got to keep playing him. My week performer is a guy who is really not in there for his offense, but is also struggling at the plate right now. That's Kyle Isbell. He went 2 for 17 last week, 1 double, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Rough because he had a patch there early in the season where it looked like he might be, getting the hang of it offensively and that sort of thing. But he is just in a desperate slump right now. And he got 2 hits yesterday. So hopefully that breaks him out of a slump a little bit, because it would be great to get a little contribution from their 9-hitter. I know he's not going to be anything special, but, an 80 weighted runs created plus on the season. I would love to see something like that from Kyle Isbell. Mike, you're going back to the well of Shawshank Redemption for your theme here. I'm pretty sure
I think I've actually used this one before.
Yeah. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if I'd used this exact quote before or if I used kind of its antithesis in the film. The film's got layers. We know this, okay? It works on so many
Everybody knows this. You know what's shocking about that movie? That's the only good movie. It didn't do very
great at the box office?
Well, that too. It didn't do great at the box office. Well, I think it opened against other huge movies. But also, that's the only good movie that director has ever directed. The rest of his movies are
Who
garbage.
is it? I don't even know who directed that movie.
His name is Frank something. I can't remember. But that's the thing. You don't remember who the director is because he's never done anything else.
Well, here's the deal. You don't have to. If you do something that good, you don't ever have to do anything else.
That's true. That's true. He can't always say, I got Shawshank,
That's right. He's still cashing them Shawshank checks. That's happening. Every time that plays on old TNT, he's cashing a check. So I'm going with the Reds' famous line about hope here, because the Royals are starting to give us maybe a little bit of hope. They're not letting the hope die. In the movie Shawshank Redemption, Morgan Freeman's character Red says famously, hope is a dangerous thing. Hope can drive a man insane. And that's what I'm hoping Royals fans don't allow to happen to them. I'm hoping the front office also doesn't do that.
Yeah, don't get crazy, fellas.
If you take a look at where we're standing, we are 5.5 games back in the wild card. There are like 4 teams ahead of us, including the Los Angeles Angels, the Texas Rangers, the Twins are in there. We are minus 30 on our run differential for the year. So it's not one of those things where you're like, well, when we get this guy back, or when, we've got a guy that's really close to Major League Baseball that we think can come in and infuse, or we've got all these trade chips and we can bring in, there's going to be guys on the trade market that we can bring in that instantly help this offense. I don't think any of that is a reality, really. And so there's no avenue to say, okay, well, we're going to get 5.5 games better. So I'm hoping that we're not creating hope that is dangerous for the long-term health of the organization.
Yeah, and the truth is, like, if you're not buyers at the deadline, even if you're sellers at the deadline, because of how short half a season is, or actually less than half a season at this point, you can just get hot, get lucky, and still have a chance to make the playoffs, honestly. Like, the
Tigers did it last year.
Yeah, the Tigers did it last year. It happens. Like, if Jack Caglione all of a sudden starts hitting in the second half, and Bobby Witt Jr. gets hotter like he's supposed to, Salvador Perez gets more consistent, and all of a sudden your offense looks a lot better than it did previously, it might not matter that your rotation no longer has Seth Lugo. It might not matter that, you've moved on from Michael Lorenzen or Jonathan India or something like that. Those things might not matter if your team gets hot enough, honestly. My theme actually has this.
And this is, sorry, real quick before you move on to yours, just dynamite theme, by the way. This is like kind of the idea that the Rays have used. Like they will be in playoff contention. They'll have a wild card spot secured, and they'll trade away guys if they think it's valuable. Like, that's the thing you have to consistently think about. There could be trades here where you get somebody and you still trade a Seth Lugo. You're like, hey, we're going to go out and get somebody who's got a little bit of control that can help us offensively beyond this year. And we're also going to get rid of Seth Lugo. and we're going to trade like a prospect to get this guy or two prospects, and we're going to trade Seth Lugo and get other prospects back. It's no longer we're just buyers or we're just sellers. There are teams that can work both sides of that equation, both help the long term of your team and then maybe help you immediately as well. It is possible. It can be done.
Yeah, and those teams don't really have any sort of short-term lens. Like they're always thinking long-term. The Rays are always thinking long-term. The Guardians are always thinking long-term. That's how you thinking long-term is how you actually build a sustainable winner. Because it's teams that think short-term that actually make poor value transactions. Like they're willing to give up the long-term value to have some sort of immediate success. Well, that hurts you in the long term, like ultimately. And so, yeah. And I don't know, Mike, do you want to talk about the rumor that the Royals are interested in Brian Reynolds? We didn't put it on the rundown.
But you know more about it than I do. But
it was reported that the Royals are interested in trading for Brian Reynolds, the outfielder for the Pirates, who has like 5 years left on his contract, is 30 years old, and is having a down year. He's owed $15 million a year for the next 5 years. I think this is a complete smokescreen. I do not think they're actually going to go after Brian Reynolds. The Pirates would have to be willing to eat a huge chunk of his contract. Why would you? It screams Hunter Renfroe 2.0. I've heard people be like, "No, it doesn't." It absolutely does. Like he's a 30-year-old whose offense is going downhill for the last 2 or 3 years, and looks even worse this year. Now his expected numbers are better and everything, but no value defensively, negative value defensively for Brian Reynolds. That's been the case his entire career. And so, like, there's a very significant chance that if they did that, they would pay Brian Reynolds $15 million a year, which is twice as much as they paid Renfroe, more than twice as much, for the next 5 years to be a, sub 700 OPS hitter. And if he actually regained his offensive ability, then they'd be paying him that much just to be like a 750 OPS hitter, like $15 million a year. If it worked out for the next couple of years, eventually the age decline will come completely and he'll just be gone. Right. And so best case scenario,
you're probably not even counting on him being on your roster for year 5.
Right. Best case scenario, he's about a 1 WAR player given his terrible defense. Right. That's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, you DFA him in a couple of years because you're throwing $15 million away for the next 5 years. Terrible idea. Hopefully it's just a smoke screen. I think it is. Back to the themes. My theme this week is very similar to yours in some way, but it's about the emotional affect. I know you know this one, Mike. Sing it with me if you'd like. It's from the 90s hit boy band, the Backstreet Boys, and it's something I hope the Royals will do. Quit playing games with my heart.
Quit playing games with my heart.
Yeah, I don't know
the rest of them.
The only line
I know there's like a background part there.
Yeah, there's some sort of right. I think you came in late for the background, but that's fine. That's from the philosopher poets, the Backstreet Boys. Basically, I just want the Royals to pick a lane and stop being like, "Oh, we're going to compete. Oh, we're not going to compete." Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxer of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy we do, retiring to a land of eternal summer? If so, you need to call Eric Oxer of West USA Realty pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
Just don't party too hard down there. You'll end up a weeping puddle of tequila and broken dreams.
Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxer of West USA Realty, it's not about him, it's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
What's in? Buying houses with front doors. What's out? Buying houses without front doors. My neighbors have seen everything.
Everything.
I'm a free guy.
The police have been called. Find Eric Oxer of West USA Realty online at ericoxer.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. If you're at all interested in what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you.
I like to air dry.
We're T-minus 1 week until the 2025 MLB Draft. We've already spoken about picks 23 and 28 on here and on our Royals Weekly Substack. So if you're interested in hearing about those two picks, go listen to previous episodes. This week, we're going to focus on picks 61, 71, and 97 as part of our final preview of the MLB draft. 5 picks in the first 3 rounds is a pretty enviable position for the Royals to be in. It allows them to add a lot of talent to a system that needs it pretty quickly. Mike, do you have a general sense of what makes sense for the second and third round picks strategy-wise?
I've always loved taking high upside high school guys in this area. And I guess here's why. There's are some good opportunities for like college arms. You'll see some opportunities for college bats, but this is like the area where if a guy's got multiple good tools, there's something else about him, an injury history. He plays at a smaller school and was kind of like a 1-year wonder so far, those types of things. And so you kind of have to be really discerning, but I'm looking at, especially in rounds 2 and 3, I'm looking at those tools specifically. If you're a high schooler, I want to know what that carrying tool is going to be. And I want to know that you're going to be a decent enough athlete to make that carrying tool work. For whatever it is. If you're a college guy, I don't mind taking an opportunity on you if you have an injury or from a smaller school, if I can see those tools there. I don't want to hear like he's a solid all-around player with no sparkling thing. That's not the guy I'm going for in round 2 and 3. I'm not big on that. Give me a guy like, a David Shields, or who is the guy? He plays for the A's now. I think they took both of them. They're brothers. Geloff, one of the Geloffs. I always forget which one. Zach. He went down in like that round 2 area because he had that power from an infield position. And it was like, okay, that's the carrying tool right there. And even though the aggression's a little too high or whatever, he's got that tool to carry you through. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Some of those high upside high school guys, or a college guy who maybe has a ding against him, like an injury history, or he's played at a smaller school, or only has 1 big year of production.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I'm curious to see what they do having so much bonus pool money and these sort of 4 picks relatively close to each other with 23, 28, 61, and 71. Like, to me, those are 4 picks that they could do some interesting things with given the amount of bonus pool money that they have. Think about the Mazzucano, Jensen, Caderna draft as a good example of this. A lot of people were all over them for taking Mazzucano and giving him way under, or taking Mazzucano so high in the first round. But it turns out what they really did was they took Mazzucano to drastically underslot him and then divvied his money up between Carter Jensen and Ben Caderna. And now that draft actually looks like a pretty good one, given that Jensen is a top 100 prospect. Caderna looks like he could be a solid back end, maybe even mid-rotation starter. He's 21 in Double-A. Mazzucano also like 21 in Double-A. He's struggling there, but still a good chance that he could work out. And so what they did was they sort of spread that money around rather than going after a top talent. Now, they did it when they had a top 10 pick. That's a little more questionable. I'm wondering if they might spread that money around a little bit with 23, 28, 61, 71. You could treat that as like, instead of getting 1 uber prospect at 23, we're going to get 4 high quality, high upside guys who are probably prep players, but all want about $2 million or something like that. Does that make sense? And so
it does. And I'm going to throw this out there to you. I'm going to throw out a little bit of a wild thing here, because we've seen the Royals do this in the past. There isn't anything that says they can't trade for another pick in this area.
Right. Absolutely.
And so, if you're looking at a minor league system that I have said for 5 years now, maybe not quite that long, is still weak. It's still weak in my estimation. Like, I know we've seen improvements in the pitching development, but there is still, to me, a serious lack of talent. Like, I know you want to count Jack as a prospect. Okay. Even after that, you're talking Jack and Jensen and, who else? I still think there's a lot of room to improve the amount of talent here. So it wouldn't shock me if you see maybe and I think Lorenzen's kind of the perfect guy for that. You send Lorenzen to a team for a draft pick and another like pitching prospect in their system. Boom. There you go.
Here are the teams that have competitive balance round A picks. If you're thinking, might they trade for one of these? The Boston Red Sox, the Minnesota Twins, the New York Yankees, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Detroit Tigers, the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Seattle Mariners, the New York Mets, and the Miami Marlins. They all have competitive
every one of those
balance
teams
round
except
A
for the
picks.
Every one of those teams except for the Marlins is in playoff contention of some sort.
So not outside the realm of possibility that, let's say, in a Seth Lugo trade with the Mets or with the Dodgers or with the Red Sox or with the Yankees, it doesn't include a package of this competitive balance round pick. Then they get even more bonus pool money, another pick in here. I'm talking, Mike, you and I should GM for the Royals or something, because this is a draft strategy I am digging right now, because I'm like, this farm system needs help, right? Like,
the other thing that I don't know much about, I've only read a couple things. I've read some things that people are not super high on the overall talent of this draft.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
And so maybe you don't do that this year because you don't love the overall talent. I don't know. I haven't looked at all the prospects enough, but it's an idea for me, for a farm system that is just seriously lacking in depth of talent.
Yeah, Mike, in the past, especially last year, we've seen the Royals go pitching heavy in this area, in this 61-67 area, or 61-71 area. Given the weakness of hitting in the organization, is that something that you're hoping that they'll try again, or do you want them to sort of help their hitting problem and focus on bringing in hitters?
Well, I don't mind that strategy of looking at pitching here, especially, David Shields was around this area. We've gotten some guys. Drew Beam was a second rounder, I think. Caderna was a second rounder as well. So I don't mind that as a strategy overall, because the traits that you're going to see from hitters in this area are often come with like big hangups. A lot of the power bats that you see left around this time are guys that, one, aren't great athletes, and two, have like a lot real questions about their approach, or their swing and miss and things like that. And so it doesn't really bother me, because if you're getting a guy that has some of those hitting tools that I really like, which is approach and power, then you're looking at guys that have, you're not going to find that this late in the draft, a guy that has both. And it's like, oh, well, he also has no injury history and he did it in the SEC. Like that doesn't exist. Those guys are gone already. And so I do think, though, that there's a lot of value that can be found on the pitching side. The question that I always have kind of asked myself, though, is with the volatility of pitching and the injury stuff, do you want to spend your highest value assets in picks, in whatever it is, 23, 28, 61, 67, on something that could just Asa Lacy, somebody who could just blow out their arm and they're done,
Right. That's why you don't
always a question for me.
That's why you don't spend a top 5 pick, maybe. But pick 61,
but
71.
This is what they have. These are their most valuable assets in the draft.
Right. These are their most valuable assets. Now, they have a lot of them. And so, the idea of there's sort of a philosophy out there that's like, don't take pitchers early because of the volatility, and because we're better at like improving pitchers than improving hitters. Take that raw hitting talent early, and then in rounds 2 through 10, pick up pitching talent. And the Royals have seemingly been following that strategy for the last 5 years or so. Think about guys they took last year. They took Jack Caglione and then took a run of like 10 straight pitchers, right, or something like that. It was like nothing but pitching after that. And we saw David Shields, and we saw LP Langevin, and we saw AJ Causey and a bunch of other guys, Drew Beam, in that group, and they're doing fine. And that, sort of the idea is you can take those guys. But in previous to that, Steven Zobak was drafted in that area. Mason Barnett was drafted in that area and then traded eventually. There are a lot of guys that pitchers that the Royals have picked up in that area. I think that's a good idea. I think leaning into pitching at that point sort of allows them to, one, lean into the best aspect of their player development, and two, not gamble too heavily on any one pitcher to be like healthy throughout his development. And so, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now this year they have so many picks, they might have to throw in some hitters as well, but probably wouldn't be surprised at all if they lean heavily on pitching with 61, 71, and 97. All right, Mike, let's talk some names here. Give us a real quick look at guys you might like at 61, 71, and 97. Doesn't have to take too long. Just sort of run it down real quick.
Yeah, okay. These are guys, the first two guys I'm going to give you are likely to be available at 61 and 71. Maybe not likely, but they've got a chance to be there at 61, 71. The first one's A.J. Russell, a right-handed pitcher out of Tennessee. He's got elite fastball metrics. The velocity is about 92 to 94. He can top out a little higher than that, but the metrics on it are the best in the draft class. Solid command as well. He gets swing and miss in the strike zone with his fastball. Big injury risk. He's probably a first rounder if if he had been healthy, but he's already had elbow surgery. It wasn't Tommy John, but he's still working his way back from that. And also he has no third reliable pitch, which is why he might be available in this. But he's a lot of upside for a guy, but just the injury stuff kind of held him back. Next guy is Ryan Mitchell, shortstop / second baseman. He's probably more of a second baseman out of Houston High School in Tennessee. Really good approach, good athlete, projectable body. I like what I see from that. He's got, for the high school class, he's got one of the best approaches of any of those high school hitters. He is a really good athlete, but the arm and the lateral quickness probably preclude him from playing shortstop. But I think just having seen him run, having seen him hit, those types of things, one, I think there's going to be more power that comes onto the frame because I think it's pretty projectable. And then two, I think he would make an excellent center field prospect. And so he's the kind of athlete that I look at 71 and say, if he's there, he's one I want to kind of gamble on because I think there is a pretty decent floor for a high school guy. Last one, and this is more of a 97, Josiah Hartshorn. And this guy's going to be I think it's maybe Hartshorn. I can't remember. This guy's going to be like the guy I fall in love with because he's an outfielder from Orange Lutheran High School in California. He's a switch hitter, which I love switch hitters, Mark.
Who doesn't?
He's got a solid approach. He's got a good approach at the plate. I absolutely love his swing from both sides of the plate because when I watch him hit, I see advanced barrel control. It almost reminds me, his setup is not even anything like it, and the swing isn't the same either, but it's very much a Kendrys Morales kind of barrel control where you're like, it didn't look like he swung that at all, and it just jumped off his bat because he hits it on the button all the time. And I was like watching this going, man, this guy's got just a really great swing, and it seems to jump off his bat every time. So this guy's going to be the one that excites me. The problem is he gives you no defensive value, and he's not a great athlete. He's kind of sneaky fast, but he's more of a stocky kind of guy, not a great athlete. But when you watch him hit from both the left and right side, you're like, I'm shocked this guy's in high school. He looks like he's a junior in college or already in professional baseball when he swings the bat. So.
Hey, take a chance on those guys. They end up becoming great first base DHs for you,
Yeah, and I think he could stay in left because he does have a good arm. I think you could play him in left. I think he's a decent enough athlete to do that.
All right, I'm going with a few guys. I went with a whole different slate of guys, and the first was inspired by Preston Farr, who I know is a big fan of this guy. I think he's hoping the Royals take him with the 23rd or 28th pick, but I'm hoping he gets down to 61, and maybe they float him down to 61 because when you have money, you can play money games, you can float guys down. That's Cameron Appenzeller, a 6'6" left-handed pitcher out of Tennessee, a high school in Tennessee. He's long, lanky, really projectable. Tall, skinny left-hander. His velocity has been increasing. He's a guy I think got it up to around 93, 94 miles an hour, which for an 18-year-old who's 6'6" is actually very good. And as skinny as him, that's quite good. He's a strike thrower, though. You would think, that long, lanky delivery, maybe he has trouble repeating it. Maybe he has trouble throwing strikes. He does not have trouble throwing strikes. Good slider. Could use development on some of his other pitches, but a guy with a ton of projection in him. And if you're saying, like, where do aces come from? They come from 6'6" lefties who are just starting to find their velocity and learning to pitch and throw great stuff. And so normally when you think of like, the pitcher's taken second to 10, you get a lot of mid-rotation starters in there, a lot of guys who at their ceiling might be a number 2. This is the type of dude who you could get maybe at 61 who has a chance to be number 1 if he fills out, if he reaches his potential. A guy I like at maybe 71, 61, 71. A guy named Brock Sell, a 6'1" outfielder from high school in California. He's got good bat to ball stuff. I love to see that from him. Not a ton of projectable power right now, but a guy who I think could add power and a guy who I think definitely will stick in center field. Decent projection, could still add muscle. A guy who I like the overall profile because there's a decent chance that he makes it all the way to Major League Baseball and contributes in some way. Really good bat to ball, some of the best in the class. And as a result, I think there's a floor for him as a hitter that's like 270 with 15 home runs, stealing a decent number of bases, playing a good outfield for you, whether that be center field or a great outfield in the corners. I also took a really projectable outfielder for my pick 97, a guy named Josh Owens. 6'3" Josh Owens is. Right now he plays shortstop, which is a little unusual, but he's got 70 grade speed as a runner. He's a prep player from Tennessee. A lot of people think he might move to the outfield, become a center fielder, a really tall center fielder. Obviously, plenty of projection to put on that frame. Could add some serious power. Has a big arm from the outfielder. Could have a big arm from the outfield. A guy who, again, I'm looking for athletes. I'm looking for guys who have the potential to give value in some way. A guy at 97 who you say, really good chance he sticks in center field. Pretty good chance that he ends up filling out his frame and adding power. I'll take that at pick 97. Royals Weekly is brought to you by All in Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they now offer strength and conditioning programs for youth athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, or baseball field.
No more getting pushed around by the water boys. Sorry, that would be hydration specialists.
Hydration specialists. Show some respect.
Moisture engineers.
Yes. And of course, All in Physical Therapy still offers the best in recovery from total joint surgeries and sports injuries with offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help you take care of your recently replaced hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, you name it.
Mark, maybe they can get you a new back, help you finish a round of golf.
Yeah, I could use one right now, honestly. If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% from an injury, check out All in Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's ALLIN-pt.com. Or give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. The Royals are back home this week for a 3-game series against the Pittsburgh Pirates starting tonight. So we get more baseball, no waiting. Tonight we will get another game. Then a day off in the middle of the week and then they face a 3-game series against the Juan Soto-led New York Mets here at Kauffman. Mike, tell us about those Yinzers from the other Pittsburgh.
What the hell is a Yinzer?
Yinzer is what someone from Pittsburgh is called. They're called Yinzers. It's an interesting factoid. My partner is from Pittsburgh, so she told me about this originally. It's a very odd thing.
What do we call people from Kansas City?
I don't even know, honestly.
Fat. Just fat people.
Yeah.
All right. Pirates, they're not good. They're not a good organization. We know this. They're wasting away Paul Skeen's career. They are 38-53 right now. Don't know where that is in the NL Central, but it's probably last I would imagine. So last in the NL Central. In that first game, we'll see our good friend Noah Cameron go against Andrew Heaney, 34-year-old lefty out of Oklahoma State. He's got a 4.16 ERA and a 1.20 whip. Not a hard thrower, Heaney. He's a four-seam fastball at 90-91, changeup, slider, curveball, sinker. The slider has been his best pitch. The fastball is surprisingly hittable for a pitch he throws 45% of the time. And so that probably leads to your 4.16 ERA. In game 2, Seth Lugo will go up against Mitch Keller, 29-year-old righty out of Xavier High School in Iowa. Keller's having a good year at 3.64 and a 1.19 whip. His four-seam fastball averages 94. He's got a sweeper, a slider, a sinker, a curveball, and a changeup. The expected numbers against the fastball are pretty good. A 367 expected weighted on base average. He doesn't strike out very many at just 18.9%, but he doesn't walk hardly any either at just 5.8%. Keller's having a solid year for them. In game 3, it's going to be Chris Bubich, newly minted All-Star Chris Bubich, against Bailey Falter, the 28-year-old lefty out of Chino Hills High School in California. 3.69 ERA and a 1.18 whip. He's also having a solid year there. A four-seam fastball at 92, a slider, a sinker, a curveball, and a splitter. He has elite extension and 97th percentile for extension. He's among the league's lowest strikeout rates, though, at 15%, and he will walk some guys. I'm guessing it's not 86% of the time because you wouldn't be in Major League Baseball.
It's 8.6.
8.6. There we go. Marc can't fill it. So we're going to miss Paul Skeens. That's good. That gives us an even better chance. But the pitching has not been the Pirates' problem this year. Their offense is garbage. And so it's among the league's worst in every category. I think they're the team I think at one point it was them and the Royals were battling for the least amount of home runs hit in the league as well. So.
Yeah. So these games might be pretty quick. So 2 hour, we're a 2 hour game. This series maybe. After that, the Mets will come to town. The Mets are 52-39. That's second in the NL East. A very good team. Offensively, they have a 111 weighted runs created plus as a team, which is sixth in Major League Baseball. They're getting great seasons from Pete Alonso, who's got a 160 weighted runs created plus. Juan Soto, who has 155. Jeff McNeil, Brandon Nimmo, and Francisco Lindor are also doing great with 132, 122, and 122 respectively. Really good offensive team, deep lineup, powerful lineup. Pete Alonso and Juan Soto can put the ball out very easily. That'll be a real tough challenge for the Royals pitching staff. On the pitching side, they've also done pretty well this year, but they are kind of hurt as well. They have a 3.56 ERA. That's good enough for sixth in Major League Baseball. They're getting a good season from Kodai Senga at 1.47 ERA in 14 starts, but he's just now coming off the injured list. So he made one rehab start, and he's expected to come back for this Royals series. We'll see if he's actually going to pitch against the Royals. But a guy coming off of injury, but he's had a great year so far. Clay Holmes has a 2.99 ERA. David Peterson has a 3.18. Griffin Canning has a 3.77, but he's now out for the season with an Achilles rupture.
Did you see
All
that?
of these guys, I did not. I don't like watching injuries.
It's not good. It wasn't good.
All of these guys have much higher expected ERAs, so they might be getting a little fortunate, and we might be maybe we're the team that brings them back to reality a little bit. That's my hope. We'll see.
You are hilarious.
I am hilarious.
This offense will beat you down, brother. It'll beat you down.
We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just a Bit Outside segment, where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Not sure that anybody listens to this segment. We just kind of do it for our purposes. But if you do listen, thank you. We really appreciate it. Mike, what is going on in your life over the last week?
Oh, just so much stuff is going on in my life. But I did discover something, and I'd say less people ask me about baseball than ask me about money. And so I'm going to talk to you just a little bit more about financial things here. I'm not a financial planner. Let's qualify it with that. But there is a great interview done by a guy named Hassan Minhaj, who I believe is a comedian. I don't know
Hassan
him all that
Minhaj
well.
is his name, but yeah.
Minhaj? I thought it was Minhaj.
I think it's just
No,
Minaj.
I don't know. Anyway, I believe he's got his start as a comedian, but he does a podcast now. And there's this wonderful interview on YouTube with the guy who I would consider, like, if there's a guy who kind of spelled out how I handle my money as far as like what I do with it to make it grow, it is a guy named J.L. Collins. And I've actually done Just a Bit Outside where I recommended his book, The Simple Path to Wealth. And he does an interview with J.L. Collins, and J.L. Collins just spells it out so simply on basically how ordinary people can use their money to buy their financial independence and to like make their money grow for itself. Basically how ordinary people can accrue wealth the way that wealthy people accrue wealth. And he makes it very simple and all that sort of stuff. And so J.L. Collins in this interview, and it's about an hour-long interview, kind of lays out the ideas that are in his book, The Simple Path to Wealth. And I think it's just brilliant. He's a very smart guy. He keeps it so simple that anybody can do it. And I think one of the biggest barriers for a lot of people when it comes to investing and when it comes to accruing wealth is that you think we've created a very complicated thing in our head. And the finance industry, the personal finance industry, has also made it seem extremely complicated so that they can sell you products to make it easier, so that they can, as a financial advisor, can sell you their services and those types of things. J.L. Collins makes it extremely simple. He spells it out. He's not a guru kind of guy. He's not selling courses. The guy's written like 2 books. One is The Simple Path to Wealth. The other one is called Pathfinders, and it's just stories of people who use the simple path to wealth to get rich. Like that's kind of, he's not like selling anything. It's not a get rich quick thing. It does take time. But if you want to know how to become
is it
more
a cult of
financially healthy,
personality?
Oh God,
'Cause
no!
that's what a lot
When
of
you
these
listen
are.
to this guy, you will not be like, "Oh, what a great personality." He's like 65 or 70 years old, and he's like, "No, you just need to do this. Do this. It's very simple. Just do this." So it's like he lays it out very simply, and he's not trying to sell anything. I've heard the guy give several interviews. It's always on like podcasts. It's never, it's never like anybody who's paying him. He's just a simple dude. He's like, anybody can do this. And so I highly recommend go check it out. It's called Financial Literacy for Dummies is the name of the interview. If you look that up on YouTube, you'll find it. It's Hassan Minhaj with JL Collins.
Yes, fantastic stuff. Very simple. Love it. I'm going to talk about my experience with 4th of July because I'm not a fan of 4th of July at this point because I don't like fireworks very much. 4th of July was last week, and I live in the city, and so I don't know if it's just like my neighborhood or what the hell's going on, but it's like friggin' Fallujah down here every year during the 4th of July, and it goes on well into the night. I'm talking 4 or 5 in the morning type stuff. And I hate that. And I don't want to be surrounded by explosions because that's what it sounds like. And so my partner and I made a decision to try and get out of the city for 4th of July. We went to a friend's house. She just lives in OP, but she's out of town. And she was like, why don't you come stay at my house, watch my cats for the weekend or whatever, and you can be away from the fireworks. And I was like, okay, but it's just OP. So I thought, well, there'll still be some fireworks. It's going to have to deal with, but maybe it'll be less than it was in the city. I didn't hear a freaking peep on the 4th of July, and I loved every second of it. Okay. I rested, I chilled, I slept through the night, which was great. Which I haven't done here. I'm hearing fireworks here for the last week or so at like 1 a.m. Like people are setting off loud explosions at like 1 o'clock in the morning here. And I'm like, it's not even the 4th of July yet. And so it was great to get away from all that. If you're like, man, I really don't like the 4th of July, my recommendation for you, and this is the first year we've ever
Go
done
to Overland Park, Kansas.
Yeah, go to Overland Park or go somewhere that isn't in the city, right? Like, and just get out. Cause like somebody suggested this to me a while back. They were like, oh, I go out of town on the 4th of July and just get away from all this stuff. And I was like, oh, great. This is the first year we've done it. We will never not do it again. Like we will never not be outside the city for the 4th of July moving forward because I can't handle, I like watching a fireworks display as much as the next guy, but like, give it to me at like a Royals game where I know it's going to last for 15 minutes after the game, or give it to me at Lake Mazingo where Mike and I grew up in Maryville. They do like a fireworks show, or in Greenwood. They do one in Greenwood where Mike lives. I get to sit there for 30 minutes and watch a fireworks show. Fine. I'm not here for fucking 2 a.m. fireworks right outside my window. Okay. I don't like that. And so I'll get out of town for the 4th of July.
Yeah, and as you know, the town that I live in is also a war zone for a solid week and a half.
Yeah, it's
and
rough.
It can get a little tiring. Like, don't get me wrong, I also like the fireworks show, and I'm a person that you want to do it with kids doing it because you and I had a lot of fun when we were younger setting off fireworks. You want to do it one night, you get one night. It's the 4th of July, and that's it. To me,
teach your kids the discipline to wait until then.
Yeah, here it's like for a week, 2 weeks, it's insane.
That's all we have for you this week. We will be back again next week to talk more Royals baseball. Make sure you're tuned into the YouTube channel on Sunday, July 13th. We're going to do our live draft episode. And then make sure you're also subscribed to the Royals Weekly Substack, royalsweekly.substack.com. We'll be back. Until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.